All the good things in my life are a result of the blessings of the good Lord and public education. Yes, public education, not private, not parochial, public education. The United States of America is the greatest nation in the history of the world for many reasons, but one of them is that we have a system of belief that every child deserves an equal opportunity to learn. And therefore, because of public education, we have an open door for children. Regardless of race, religion, gender, socioeconomic status, or ability to pay, or ability to learn, we open our doors for every child. Because of public education, a skinny, dirt-poor farm kid from nowhere, Wisconsin, was allowed to go to school to learn how to read and write and do math. Be part of school activities, plays, musicals, athletic teams, and eventually student government. My family was very poor growing up. In fact, we were so poor that when people would break into our house, we would rob them. And because of the lack of food, I was so skinny, my pajamas only had one stripe. Because of our socioeconomic status, we couldn't have afforded the costly private schools. And because my family and I were part of a religious minority in Wisconsin, we wouldn't have been allowed to enroll in the parochial schools. So public education was my ticket up and out. And what a tremendous blessing it has been in my life. I've been fortunate enough to be a lifelong educator. I've earned 5 university degrees all from public institutions. And this year, as was mentioned, I was named the 2015 Idaho Superintendent of the Year. None of this would have happened had it not been for public education. The turning point for me came in the first grade. I'd struggled in kindergarten because I was incredibly hyperactive and easily distracted. Back then, they didn't have a term for ADD. They just said ASS. But first grade was different. I still remember Mrs. Wells, my first grade teacher. She took an interest in me. She reached out and made a personal connection with me, got to know me, and instilled in me a confidence that I could learn and learn well. Now, I'm 56 years old, and first grade was a long time ago. But I still remember that positive connection that Mrs. Wells made with me and the confidence and learning I was able to achieve because of her influence. So why am I saying all this? Because I believe in public education. I believe in defending it, in promoting it, in sustaining it, in preserving it, and investing in it. Those of us who work in public education, however, have been under relentless attack and assault for over 20 years. We hear things like the public education system is failing, the public education system is broken, the sky is falling, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. And these propagandistic attacks are coming typically from corporate profiteers and their political allies. They see the tax money going to public education as a treasure trove. They don't see education as a public good or a right. They don't particularly care about children, they care about money. And so they see the best way to get at that money is to badmouth public education and the teachers that teach in the institution, criticize, disrupt, dismantle, divide, and eventually privatize public education. In 2001, in the Bush administration, what was imposed upon public education was a law called No Child Left Behind. It was the most coercive, punitive, short-sighted, and mean-spirited law ever for public education. What the law required is it demanded that every child achieve 100% proficiency in every academic area, or there would be consequences, punitive consequences, loss of money, loss of licensure, closing of schools. Now, children are not small adults. Children are also not widgets on an assembly line. Children are children, and some of them come to us with tremendous challenges that they have to overcome just coming to school. So my colleagues and I went to Boise and we went to Washington, D.C. and told the politicians, this law is unworkable. You cannot force 100% of the kids to be 100% proficient. I'm not sure I know adults that are 100% proficient in all academic areas. I'm still trying to get my faculty to park in the right places. So now they're changing the law, which is a wonderful thing, because they tell me it's unworkable. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate the 14-year gap. So following No Child Left Behind, then came, with the Obama administration, came Race to the Top, or as I affectionately call it, the Race to Nowhere. And what this did is we had hoped that when the new administration came in, that there would be a change in regarding federal education policy. And there really wasn't. In fact, the Obama administration doubled down on No Child Left Behind with Race to the Top. In the old days, the federal government would give money out to states that had high levels of childhood poverty to equalize the playing field. Under the Race to the Top, states had to compete via grants in order to get the money. So the poor children didn't get access to the money. States that had the best grant writers got access to the money. Then the federal government came in and made districts change their entire system in order to meet to reflect the federal policies. Both the Bush and Obama administrations have really pushed charter schools. Now, charter schools are public schools, but they have a private twist to them. Most people don't understand that 75% of charter schools in the United States perform actually less well than traditional public schools. In addition, charter schools are their own separate district, meaning they get paid separately in and above the traditional schools. I don't see in the public sector a clamor for charter ambulance services, charter fire departments, charter police departments, or charter public libraries. It wouldn't make any sense to duplicate those services. But yet, here we are, and we have it in public education. Again, it's a way to make money. Sadly, and the worst thing about charter schools is that in many states, many charter schools, you will not find a single minority student in those schools. Or you won't find any special needs children either. Common Core is a national curriculum. Not a single standard was written by an educator. It was written by corporate attorneys because they know if they write a new curriculum, then you have to buy new curriculum materials, and they're very expensive. My district alone, this year, the math adoption will be $500,000. So it's a multi-billion-dollar business, and they know if they write a new curriculum, then you're going to have to buy the curriculum materials. But what's different about this is it's also enforced through a series of high-stakes standardized tests. The tests that, again, none of them were written by educators. They were written by corporations for public education. Some of these tests require up to 9 hours for third graders to complete. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was in third grade, there was just no way. 30 minutes was plenty. 9 hours it's just institutionalized child abuse. Plus, these tests are incredibly expensive. We used to test students in our state for $700,000 a year. Now we're paying $6 million to out-of-state testing firms so we can test. In addition, the tests are very punitive. Teachers' evaluations, principal evaluations, certificates and licenses are all dependent on how well the kids do on these tests. And so we have gone test crazy in our country. Another reform that has been foisted on public education by corporate profiteers and their political henchmen have been vouchers. Now, vouchers is an interesting concept where the premise is you give money out to people and they can choose their own schools, which sounds interesting. But here's how it really works in reality. If you give $5,000 to a rich person and $5,000 to a poor person and say, go buy a new Cadillac, the rich person says, thanks, that was a subsidy. I was going to go buy one anyway, but thank you, government. The poor person says, I can't afford a Cadillac anyway, even with $5,000, because some of these private schools are incredibly costly. Then we've also been a witness to merit pay and pay for performance. Now, think of race to the top only at the local level. Take these teachers, many of whom don't make hardly anything at all salary-wise, and then they compete against each other for an additional few $100s at the end of the year, because in order to get some extra money, they have to compete with each other. That's the whole premise of merit pay. I'm going to out whatever you. What the reformers don't understand is that teaching is collaborative. Teachers at grade levels, departments, and across academic domains actually work together to help children learn. They don't compete, they collaborate. Now, we'll move on from that and talk about college and career ready. And this is a very inspiring and noble concept. I've never seen a definition, so if you see one, let me know. I want to see what it means to be college or career ready. But think about it. We have 17 and 18-year-olds graduating from our schools. Do you really want a 17-year-old air traffic controller? Now, I have a 17-year-old daughter at home. Half the time, I don't want to give her the keys to the car, let alone have her perform open heart surgery the day after she graduates. So I think we need to rethink a little bit about this, what it means to be career ready at 17 or 18. And college ready is a great thing too, but all of our colleges and universities require different entrance expectations. And so it's difficult to get everybody college ready when you don't know exactly what the colleges want. So perhaps our colleges should be more open to our diverse learners. Just a thought. So all of these reforms have one thing in common. None of them work. None of them work. And the reason they don't work is because they're predicated on a false premise, which is that public education is failing and the system is broken. And nothing could be further from the truth. Public education is doing better than ever. In my district alone, we have a 99% graduation rate. Last year, 6,500 college credits were earned before graduation. Our fine arts program is second to none. Our vocational program is ever expanding. We do a better job than ever before. And we did it without any of these reforms. In fact, we did them in spite of these reforms. So what we don't need in our country are any more reforms. No more Reformation. We do not need a Reformation. We need a restoration, in my opinion. We need to restore some basic principles that worked and worked exceedingly well before this era of Reformation came about. And here are some of the things that I believe that we need to restore. Number one, we need to restore dignity and respect back to the teaching profession and to teachers. Teachers make education possible. They need to be revered and not reviled. Secondly, we need to restore the money that was cut to public education that started before the recession and then was cut even more heavily during the recession. We cannot simply we cannot attract, hire, retain quality, competent educators without money. Our military is the finest in the world. And one of the reasons it's the finest in the world, it receives money for manpower, training, and material. Imagine with me, if you will, for a moment, if the military had to act like public education. Imagine with me the Joint Chiefs of Staff sitting in the Pentagon with President Obama. They're saying, Mr. President, we have a concern. We have a national security threat from country XYZ. We think we should attack country XYZ because of this huge threat. But we have a problem. We don't have any money for bullets. We're out. We just don't have any money. But we have an idea. General Smith here has volunteered to sit on the top of the Pentagon building, and when we raise our quota, of funds, he will shave his head. Or he will kiss a pig. We're also thinking about doing a national bake sale for bullets. Now don't go stealing that trademark. I'm going to trademark that, so don't be stealing that line. A national bake sale for bullets. We're also thinking about hitting up the local Kiwanis and Rotary clubs and see if some local business will donate money to the cause. As ludicrous as that would be for our military, for their very important mission, that is exactly what public education has to do to get needed funds for our equally important mission of educating our children and ensuring their best educational futures. We need to restore real classroom instructional time so teachers can work one-on-one with children. You cannot standardize the curriculum like they did in Common Core and standardize and with punitive standardized high-stakes testing and then turn around and differentiate instruction. It doesn't work that way. Even on the dairy farm, we knew we had to feed the calves and not just weigh them. You can't standardize the curriculum and standardize the testing and enforce it through testing and then differentiate instruction. We had a term for that on the dairy farm. It's called bass-ackwards. We need to restore real classroom instructional time and get away from these high-stakes standardized tests that are so incredibly expensive, time-consuming, and wasteful. They tell us nothing about instruction. They tell us nothing. We take a test and we get the results 5 months later. Rather than waiting for the 5-month later results, drilling down into the data with a laser-like focus as they tell us, you might as well just pick up the phone and call the teacher. These will not tell you anything other than what the teacher can tell you what they know about your child in the classroom. We need to restore that real classroom instructional time. We also need to restore real decision-making authority at the local level. Parents, teachers, principals, and school board members know our children better than any cubicle boy or girl in the educational bureaucracy in Boise or Washington, D.C. We know our children best. We know their needs best. We need to be given the authority to make decisions for them. If we can do these things, and we can, if we can restore these basic principles, we will create an environment where we can attract, hire, retain, caring, competent teachers to work one-on-one with our children. That is the secret. That's the magic of public education. That's the magic of real learning, is that connection. If you reflect back on your own learning experiences, your best learning experience probably wasn't the exuberance you felt over taking some high-stakes standardized test. It was more than likely a connection that you had made with an inspiring teacher, like my Mrs. Wells experience. When we create this environment, we create what I call a halo of happiness. If you have happy teachers, you have happy students. If you have happy students, you have happy parents. If you have happy parents, you have happy school board members. If you have happy school board members, you have a happy superintendent. If you have a happy superintendent, you have happy principals. If you have happy principals, you have happy teachers. And the halo of happiness goes around and around and around. As corny as it sounds, it really and truly works. What I'm asking you tonight are two things. First, if you ever hear the word reform attached to public education, run. Run away. Because we know, A, it won't work, or B, someone's trying to sell you something. The second thing I'm asking you tonight is to join with me in an effort to restore these basic principles of success into public education. We can do this. We can do this. We don't have to let the folks in D.C. or other places tell us how we can teach our children. We know what works. I know what works. I'm a product of the system. I know it works. And it works for children all across this nation if we just let it. If we can restore these basic principles, we will not only restore the greatness back into public education, more importantly, we will restore the goodness back into public education. Thank you.